My name is Mark. I'm starting a new channel on here called Hollawood Exclusive. You can call it Hollywood X for short, Hollawood even. The name doesn't really have any significance. However, it's something that my brother put me on to years ago, and I kind of stole it from him, and just been kind of rocking with it ever since. Just kind of a pun on Hollywood, obviously, but just with an A. This new channel that I'm starting, I really just wanted to kind of give people my insights on just real talk stuff, right? I'm gonna try to call each segment, whatever the topic is, plus real talk. I'm gonna start with Sportsbook real talk, so that's kind of like fantasy sports, daily sports betting, things of that nature. Something I've been doing on and off for the past, I want to say about 20 years, and I've been pretty decent at it, right? I've been in year-long leagues that I've won, football, baseball, basketball. I've won some money in daily fantasy sports, if you guys know what that is. I've won money on sports books as well. And I think it's just a good community and a way to form a good camaraderie with people. And I do a lot of my own research. So I like to use some online resources. But like I said, I like to do a lot of my own analytics and research. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to you guys. And I'm like, if I'm doing it, then I might as well just kind of share it with people. I know some people feel stuck in their research sometimes, or they just need to have a platform or have an outlet to bounce ideas off of. And I know that I need that too. Sometimes I'll, have a great pick for the night and either talk myself out of it, forget that I said it. So again, this is going to be kind of that place where everybody can, have a way to share information. Hopefully, as a community. Hopefully, I can start a Discord, things of that nature. I really want to keep things and this information free because most of the sources that I'm using are free as well. I don't get paid by any of these places to put out the content, but I just said I need to start somewhere, right? So today is November 20th, 2025. I hope everybody's having a good day so far. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in New York, so it's about 1:45 p.m. here. And if you guys can see my screen, I'm going to show you some of the resources that I use. Roto Grinders is the first place that I usually like to start my day. I feel like they're a really good paid and free resource site. There are a lot of people that are the content creators on Roto Grinders, and they've won a lot of money. I have won money using Roto Grinders resources as well. I don't currently pay for a subscription. However, I do check on some of their free articles and use that as kind of the basis of my research. Derek Farnsworth, right here. Shout out to Derek. Really cool guy. I've spoken. I've had online chats with him throughout the year. Watched some of his lives. I'm pretty sure he's still doing pretty well. And he's still one of the main the cogs at Roto Grinders. And I actually like to start with his article, usually for the day. There's also a paid source that I use called Propfinder. With Propfinder, with Propfinder, one second, guys. Sorry about that. Let's do float on top. All right. So with Propfinder, it is the one paid source that I'm currently using. I really like them because with Roto Grinders, Derek's articles used to include defensive matchups, which I like to exploit. And everyone should like to exploit, whether it's in daily fantasy sports, whether it's in year-long fantasy sports or sports books. So unfortunately, it doesn't include that anymore. So I've decided to pay for Propfinder as a service. And so far, so good. I think they're still an up and coming company. They do put out a lot of different updates. They try to cater to the larger community, but they also take a lot of the feedback. They also have a Discord. I'm not sure if you have to have a paid membership to join the Discord. However, I don't utilize it that much, I'll be honest. But it is there for your use if you like. The next source I use is StatMuse. basically a Google for all sports stats. I'll just take the person's name. I'll do game log versus X, Y, and Z team, or I'll look, how they played without or with a certain player on the court. Then I go to RotoWire. I like to look at their projected starting lineups. They've been pretty accurate. They have the over-unders. They have the spreads on the bottom. It's a little bit small to see there. So that's where I use TheScore. I like this. This is an app I use on my phone as well. I like to click into TheScore really quickly just to kind of see the spreads. For whatever reason, I just like that they have a really clean UI. And then the Real app is a lot faster than places like TheScore, sometimes even the NBA app. The Real app is a real time, literally updating app. They are on top of every sport, so it's an app again. Might want to download it. It's also free. And then the last resource I kind of use is X/Twitter, and I'll use Underdog NBA for my latest news updates throughout the day, injury statuses, things of that nature. Um, so yeah, I would say amongst those 7 resources that I use, this is kind of how I go about my NBA or any type of sports research. I'll start with some combination of these. Let me get rid of some of these tabs so that the computer doesn't get overloaded. But let's just dive right into how I do my research, and hopefully this is helpful for some of you guys. I would appreciate any feedback. I would appreciate any likes, subscribes. I'm gonna upload. This is an uploaded video. However, I would like to do some lives as well. But I thought I should start at least with something that I can edit or take a break. I am a full-time entrepreneur, not with this, but I own and operate a retail store where we sell sneakers and apparel. Hence the sneakers in the background. Something again I've been doing for the past 14 or 15, maybe even a little bit longer years. And I've decided in the last 3.5 years that I was gonna go a little bit more mainstream. I partnered up with someone, and we made that kind of a dream come true. We also do real estate investing, but again, that's just those are things that I want to do on the business. But sports and analytics and researching and the feeling that you get of getting things right and helping people make money is something that I'm really excited about each day. Right, I'm excited to wake up and have an opportunity to kind of crush it each day. And I won't sit here and say that I'm an expert. I won't sit here and say that I win every night, but I will say that I won't really put out anything that I don't feel is, a good pick or has some reason as to why it could work. So I like to just give people the information, give them the my mindset behind the pick or behind, making that selection or even considering that selection. And I don't want to do a lot of talking. But like I said, I just wanted to give some background. I'm, your everyday person, and like I said, I'm not making $1 million a year on any business. So, but I like to enjoy my life. I like to have my hobbies, and this is one of them. So I just wanted to kind of share it with everyone since I'm doing it anyway, like I said before. So starting with Roto Grinders, let me just start from the beginning again. Like I said, I like to start with some of their free articles, and their primary free article, and still one of the best articles that I like to start with, is Derek's article where NBA DFS First Look. So with the NBA DFS First Look, they show you the NBA odds and schedule. They show you the implied totals, the team stats, and the pace of play. So these are important really across any type of sports betting, right? Especially when you want to make sure that the guys that you're choosing or the teams that you're choosing have the best opportunity to succeed. So I like to start with the implied totals um, of those specific teams. This is the points per game. This is the plus minus. These are the offensive ratings of each team, the pace that each team plays at, and the rebound percentage, the ranking of their rebound percentage as well. And then on this side is the defensive matchup that they're going against, and you'll see kind of like a mirror slash opposite of is what's going to happen or what's projected to happen in that matchup. So they go with the point guards, the shooting guards, the small forwards, the power forwards, and the bench players. So what I like to focus on after I sort by the team's total is I'll take a quick look at how many points they score per game, right? 111. Not crazy in the NBA. In the NBA in the last few years, as you guys know, the scoring has jumped tremendously, which is great for entertainment, right? So they want to keep people in the seats. They want things to be entertaining. Unfortunately, for whatever reason this year, there's so many injured players, something that the NBA actually put out the other day, a statement saying that they're going to look into, try to use some analytics to find out why people are getting injured so much in the NBA now. But I'll look at points per game. I'll look at the offensive rating. I'll look at the pace, and I'll look at the rebound percentage. And then I'll go and I'll look at each individual position to see how that person is valued or that person is projected to perform, kind of projected to perform for the night. You won't really get a projection from this side. You'll just kind of get a average of what they've been doing. So starting with the Grizzlies, Ja Morant's out. I believe that um, Jaren Jackson is questionable. So those are two of their biggest guys, their biggest names right now. So it's going to come down to a lot of pieces. And we see this every year for whatever reason with Memphis. They end up going to kind of their B squad and they end up being like people that you want to look at because they can go off each night. They can kind of stink it up each night. But Vince Williams is projected, or at least have him as one of the projected starters at point guard. And one of the other things I like to look at and why I continue to use this site is I feel like I use FanDuel mostly. I just prefer their UI. I'm a blue guy, so they got me with their blue. But I've always just kind of gravitated towards FanDuel for whatever reason. I use DraftKings as well. I'm on Fanatics, on Caesars. You know, I have all of the sports books essentially that are allowed in New York. But I do gravitate towards FanDuel. So when I'm looking at stats, I'm really looking towards what the person is going to be valued at for FanDuels. So that's how I'm going to start off here. And I'm going to show you guys how I use these numbers, which aren't really applicable for sports books, but coming from a daily fantasy sports mindset, how they still can apply and how they can still help you. So looking at Vince Williams, on DraftKings, he's at 5,300. On FanDuel, he's at 4,700. So tonight on FanDuel, without Ja Morant, for sure, Vince Williams looks like a good value play here on FanDuel. His minutes per game, his fantasy points per minute, his usage is at 20, which you'll start to see that's a really good usage for somebody of his price. And he puts out about a fantasy point per minute. So again, why this is important is because if this person, when Vince is on the court, these are essentially his numbers that he's been averaging, right? So these numbers are what he's been averaging so far for the season. Now, this doesn't include, well, it includes, but also doesn't really take into account Ja Morant being out. Now, there are other websites that you can use. There's NBA Reference. There's Popcorn Machine. I think Pop Machine or Popcorn Machine that will break down quarter by quarter minute by minute, plus and minus how the person is doing. But I try not to kill myself with research. I've done that in the past, and I've only found that because you don't know what the outcome is, and this is why it's kind of what it is, because you don't know what the outcome is, you can only do so much, and you can only put so much into that research to where, one, your time continues to make sense, and two, the end result is going to be what it's going to be. So I try to keep it as an overarching research. If there's just one person, one or two people that I'm really like not sure what to expect from them, um, and I want to do some more research, then I may pull up a couple of those other sites. Mostly, I'll stick to StatMuse, which I showed you guys earlier. But for Vince, he's looking okay, and this is somebody who I would normally consider for daily fantasy sports, considering his price, considering they're the number one projected team total scoring team on the night. And let's just take a look at Vince Williams' number. So the game without John Morant against the Spurs and his last few games, as you can see, he's over 20% usage. So that's why his average dropped down to about 20. But in the last 4 games, I think John Morant's been in and out. And Vince Williams has been kind of a beneficiary of that. The worry right now is his minutes. So you see he jumped from 14 to over 20, and he's been consistently in the mid to late, possibly late 20s. The last game being his highest minutes total. And that's something that you want to think about when, guys, when you're picking guys. So if he's going to be on the court, how many minutes he's playing, and essentially that creates opportunities, right? Opportunities for him to score, opportunities for him to be involved, assist, rebound, what have you. And this is, again, like I said, somebody based on his price is someone who I would be looking at tonight to see what the sports books are valuing him at, right? As well. So I see the discrepancy in price already on FanDuel here to say maybe the FanDuel Sportsbook is going to undervalue him as well. Because I believe that there's kind of some familiarity between the two of those. Some synchronicity, between the two, considering it's all FanDuel. So he had 14, 8, 12, and 14 points. And like I said, his usage is good. His minutes are decent. And over a point per minute, it's probably coming a little bit more from his other stats, which are yellow. So green is blue is the best. Green is second. Yellow is third. And red is the worst. So in points, he's not really high. But as we can see from his stats here, he did score. I think the lowest was 8 points. So his lowest was 8 points there in the last 4 games, but he had 14, 12, and 14. And let's just take a look. So I like to go on the FanDuel app really quickly. For whatever reason, I can't pull up Sportsbook on my computer. The location thing just acts wonky for me, so I'm just gonna pull everything up that I like or that I want to research quickly on my phone. I don't know if you guys saw, FanDuel did do an update. They have some good, some bad update. Some things in the update that I like and maybe dislike. Hopefully, I'll give my take on that in a few days. But let's see what Vince Williams is at 13 and a half. So 13 and a half is not bad. So after I look at Vince Williams, like I said, the discrepancy is price is what kind of has me on him. And I'll take a look over here. They project, Propfinder projects Cam Spencer, but to the position, you want to look at, and I'll teach you how to read Prop Finder. They're going to give the team that the person over here is going against, and then this is the person's line on, it's probably an average of the line on each app. The average that they are scoring because I'm on the points category, and their head to head average. Now, if I click rebounds, it'll give that person's rebounds, their line, their average. Same with assists, same with 3 pointers, same with steals, same with blocks. I like to stick to points, rebounds, and assists. Maybe I'll dabble in 3 pointers sometimes. But right now, I've been really focusing mainly on points, because the NBA, or really any sport's about scoring, right? Obviously, the defensive team, the best defensive team, usually wins, but they have to score something, and that's what it's about. So I've been trying to stick to just scoring something simple, something easy to research. I think it's a little bit more predictable than the ancillary stats that you have here. Sometimes assist, the person that he passes it to has to make the shot. Rebound, he has to get under the rim. Points, at least, like, even if he's guarded, sometimes these guys will take shots, right? So I want to make sure that, I'm picking a stat that's easier to predict, or easier to hit for these guys. So we're gonna go with points. So they allow 27. The problem is, and let me see if we have him at another position. The problem is they don't even have him in the lineup on here, and there's no search function. Wait, I may have lied. Let me do research. There we go. Let's do Vince Williams. Let's see what. All right, so Vince Williams, his 13.5 points, right? His last 10 average, his last 5 average. I don't really use this page too much unless I just have to find a specific player, like I am doing right now with Vince Williams. So with Vince Williams, 13.5. In the last 4 games, he's hit it twice. Like I said, with minutes in the mid 20s. His last game, and that's what he does, like 14, 9, and 9, which is kind of crazy, for someone, but he does it. So John Morant's out. Jaren is day to day. On the other side, Sabonis is day to day. But you have so many guys that Ty Jerome, you have Javon Small, you got Scottie Pippen Jr. So all of these guys compete with guys like Vince and other guys who play the guard positions, for the ball and for usage. So with those guys out, Vince should conceivably get to 30 this game. And he's not, it's not looking great, with all this red, with only a couple of green, and his line being what it is. You can edit the line here with them to, and then essentially when you're looking at a player, when you first click in, you want to kind of glance at the PF rating. So the PF rating is what Prop Finder is rating the person as to hit that prop, the prop over there. So his given prop, again, we heard on FanDuel currently is 13.5. 13.5 is kind of a lot, considering he may not be the most prolific scorer, but his usage is there, his opportunity is there, the game and his team total are there. And one thing I want to say is 13.5 points is not a lot for someone to score when they are given the opportunity. Now, if the other team is just playing lights out offensively and defensively, then maybe you have a problem. The good thing about the matchup tonight is that they're going against the Kings, who should be a way better team than they are, considering all the pieces that they have. They're all on the older side. past their prime. The one guy that's probably not is Sabonis, but he's also not having a great season so far, or not his typical season so far. But they have enough pieces that when you put them together, they look good, right? They look like they should even be better than the Grizzlies. But right now, the Grizzlies are projected to score the most points on the night. They're in the top three defensive weakness rankings for the day against the Kings. So somebody like Vince Williams, if he does start, and like I said, I like to check over here real quick. So they're also projecting Vince. Propfinder doesn't have him in. Um, on Derek, who usually puts out his sheet a little bit after 12 a.m., maybe closer to 1 a.m. some nights, depending on how late the games go. He'll try to, I don't know where he actually sources his from. It might be similar to RotoWire. They they might use a similar algorithm. However, Vince Williams is the projected starter, and you know what? Let's just go to our score app. Let's do it on here so you guys can see. Real quick, we'll look at Memphis's last game versus the Spurs. And we will see. How to recap. We'll do matchup. Vince Williams. Sorry, I'm just used to the app. Just trying to find where they give just the stats breakdown. All right, I can't find it here. I don't want to waste too much time looking for it. So let me just see on the Score app. So when I click on the same way, click on the Sacramento and Memphis Grizzly game. I click on the Memphis Grizzly. I click on the Grizzlies' last game, and I click on stats. I don't see that on. I see team stats, but I don't see stats because within stats, I can see the breakdown of each player. And let me just show you real quick if you can see. So in stats, right, you can see a breakdown. So for Vince, I wanted to see how he shot and if he started the last game because that'll be a good indication that they might stick with the same lineup. And he did. He started at point guard. So that's a good projected lineup. And we're going to say that we're just going to replace Cam Spencer with Vince Williams here. I think maybe Cam Spencer was out. Nope, he played as well. So again, most likely Vince Williams, right? Just a quick little deeper dive to see if Vince Williams is the play here. So, and then I'm going to just jot down Vince Williams. Now, 14 and a half, like I said, or is it 13 and a half? 14 and a half was 13 and a half, like I said, was kind of high. I'm going to jot Vince down for 12 and a half. Vince Williams. I'm going to jot him down for 12 and a half for now. 13 and a half may look a little bit sweeter later on, but right now at 13 and a half, sorry, his odds were 130 on FanDuel. And another thing that I want to tell you guys is I also try to bet them straight now. I used to just build a parlay with everybody, and I was seeing my parlays missed by like one or two, right? And it's literally been that way since the start of the season. I have yet to hit a big parlay for the season. And again, like I'm saying, I'm being completely honest. I'm no bookie. I'm no scalper. I'm no genius. But I've hit a couple of parlays. I shouldn't say I haven't hit. I've hit parlays, but I haven't hit a really, really big one yet. I think the largest parlay I hit so far this season was for about $200. Not crazy, right? But what I've noticed I'm missing out on each night is the fact that I can bet not I can, sorry. I should be betting my picks as straights. And this is something that again I've been doing fantasy sports and um, daily fantasy sports for a longer time than I've been doing sportsbook. Sportsbook, I want to say I really, really dove deep into it last year. Um, Last season is when I really started, allowing myself to make the picks and put up the money. So this year I said I'm gonna go all in, and I'm gonna kind of hone in on my strategy of, where I like to make my picks, who I like to pick. There's a couple of people on that I don't want to pick you again list, but you have to have a short memory in things like this. I also don't want to make this video too long. So, but let's keep going. So Vince Williams, I'm going to put him down for 12 and a half. Let's leave it at that. For now, the next position is Cedric Coward. Cedric Coward, I did take last game, and I liked him a lot based off of these metrics, which DraftKings has him at 6'3". FanDuel has him at 5'6", which again another discrepancy. He's averaging 26, which is better than Vince. He is, oh sorry, he's getting 26 minutes, which is more than Vince technically. He played a ton more minutes last game because it was close. I know before last game they said they were going to keep him limited on minutes. So the fact that they say that before, but they allowed him to kind of keep going, makes me think as long as this game is competitive, which is supposed to be, that he'll continue to play. But I still will say that he's probably going to get 28 to maybe 30 minutes. Fantasy points, he's at over a point per minute, which is really good, for somebody of that price who has already been starting for the season. Most of the time, they'll bump these prices up, as you can see, 7, 7.4, 6.1, 6.5. Him at 5'6", and amongst other guys if in his position who are not, no one else is averaging over a point per minute than Cedric Coward, but yet he's one of the cheapest there. So this is something that we don't want to miss. His usage has to have gone up. His points per game, considering all the guys that are questionable are out, right? 28% usage that game. 18, okay. 27, 21. So I like to look at the last 4 to 6 games as a barometer for, whether that person, how that person's trending, how that person is projecting to do. So I had him at, I think, 13 and a half last game. He smashed that by another, 5 points, which was great. But that's how I want to be able to look at these guys, right? I want to look at them, see what they've been doing, look at these stats, look at Propfinder and Propfinder for him, and see if he also has a good matchup. He is the starting the starting 3 for them. Nope, starting 2. So he starts at shooting guard. They have him at small forward, right? He hasn't played them yet. He averages 14.3 on the season. Their line, they want us to commit at 15 and a half. That's probably the best price. And the Kings are allowing 20.7. So that's good, right? It's not bad. It's yellow. All the other ancillary stats are red. Not something we want to look for, but for now, he's interesting. So, but let's look at him at shooting guard. So in shooting guard, they're actually allowing 27 points to the position, and this is Jalen Wells, so we won't look at this. But again, 27 points now versus 20 points to the position. Now he can shift. They can put somebody else on him. Like all of this stuff can change. But the point is like how they start and where they primarily play their most minutes is where you want to kind of put them on the scale of defensive matchup, right? And again, we don't know what the end result of the game is going to be, but and we don't even know what the starting lineup is going to be at 2:17 in the afternoon. But for now, we can at least say, all right, he should be the starting shooting guard. They allow 27. They allow 27 points, and he's projected. They want us at 15 and a half. I'm going to say I'll do Cedric, and I'm just jotting his name down. Cedric at 13 and a 13 and a half to 14 and a half. Let's say that because based on his usage, based on his points per minute. If he's above 25% usage again, I think that, I mean, he's already averaging 14 and a half. So I think that he should smash that spot. But I'm going to say 13 and a half to 14 and a half. And one of the other things I like to do now is if I'm looking at multiple people in the same team, I'm going to automatically probably drop their lines a point or two, right? Because they are going to be conflicting or competing with each other during that game. So I don't want to sit there, in which it happened the other night, and I almost hit, I think about $1,000, where uh, Denny and Shaden Sharp, they were within a point, literally 1 point each. I needed them to hit. So if I had just dropped them a point, we would have hit. So just something that I'm implementing when I'm taking multiple people from the same team. Jalen Wells, he hasn't been doing well this season. He's really cheap on both sides, but he's averaging less than a point per minute. I don't think he's getting a ton of minutes. Yeah, he's still not like he's just not doing great. So I'm not looking at Jalen Wells. Santi Aldama is always interesting when guys are injured. He's just kind of like a one size fits all kind of guy. He does a little bit of everything. He can do a lot of something. He could do a less of something else. It sometimes he's a mixed bag, and you just don't know what you're gonna get from Santi. But at 5,500, averaging 28, which is pretty good. One of the rule of thumbs in daily fantasy sports is you want to get someone who's 5x. Well, it's kind of an older rule. Now you really want to do 6x plus, but he's around that 5x range, which is good. He's well over a point per minute, which is even better. And I'm pretty sure these are his bench stats. But if we look at his recent games, 19 he had last game, 16, 27. They're also keeping his minutes in the mid. They looks like they're keeping everybody in the mid to slightly upper 20s, right? Like no one's really crushing it. He's been in double digits pretty much every game this season um, in scoring. And last game, I don't know if I don't think he started, but let's see. Yeah, he didn't start. But if Jackson's out, then he would start. Um, more than likely he would start. I don't know if they'll start Landale, as long as Edie's playing. And then Zach Edey, he just came back. He's still working his way back. Um, his average also not bad, 5'8", 28 fantasy points per minute, 19% usage, and 1.21 points per minute, which is really high. Which is good. Which is good for him. Sorry about that. Get a lot of these scam calls. But as you can see, he just doesn't score a lot. That's what I'm looking at when I scroll over his points. He just doesn't score a lot. So, and we're focusing on scoring. So, two guys who seem like they should kind of command the offense where they are, Vince and Cedric. possibly Santi. But I definitely don't like taking three people, and again, just personal preference because they're all competing, right? And maybe I could take all three of them as straights, but my fear now also would be that Santi's line just doesn't make sense with where he is. But it's honestly not bad. 25 points is what they allowed. That's the only green one on there. He averages 15 against them. He's averaging 12 and a half on the season, and they're asking 15 and a half. So that's the same thing they were asking of Cedric, but at least Cedric was averaging more. He had no head-to-head stat. The position that he's supposed to be playing at, they're allowing 27 points to that person slash position. Santi at 15 and a half. Again, really under 20 under 20 and 20% usage for someone. But Santi didn't have 20% usage last game, even without Ja. And I don't know if that was just because Jaren was playing, but he can, right? Like if he's starting, he can. But as of right now, we know that Vince is probably going to start. As of right now, we know that Cedric is going to start. We'll see what happens with Jaren, but I don't like to bet on what ifs. Well, I guess everything. So whatever you betting, but you know what I mean. Like these guys are guaranteed. These are their stats based off of how they're playing now. We saw what the bumps were for these guys in their deeper dive, and then Santi. So that's kind of how I go through each team and each game and talk it through, right? Like I talking to you, and I like to say people. I like to say y'all. I try not to say guys, to be towards any group. But I may say it every now and then. But now let's move on to San Antonio Spurs, and their line is 3.5, so they're projected to stay close with Sacramento. But you never know. San Antonio Spurs. They're going against Atlanta. They're second highest, 3 to 4 points off of the total for Memphis. They have a 10 offensive rating, which is really good. Offensive rating is another thing I look at too. So I don't want to take guys. I don't want to take too many guys from a team whose offensive rating is not good. Meaning, most likely they are not assisting, they're not scoring that high that often, right? Because their points per game, they only average 111, which is the lowest here. But they're tonight projected to score 119. I know I'm backtracking a bit, but I think this is important. And because their offensive rating is not good, they don't score a lot of points typically per game. But Sacramento is just allowing a lot more, or they aren't so good on defense at the moment. So again, when I'm looking at Vince Williams, when I'm looking at Cedric Coward, I'm looking at the fact that I want to get their stats low, right? Just in case this game ends up being around 109, 108, 100 even, right? I want those guys to be the ones that are looking at um I want to have those guys have a better chance of hitting their line. So, but their pace is good, right? So that means that they'll be running up and down the court, which most likely means that they will have a lot of opportunities to score. And so do the Kings. They also run up and down a lot. So, again, something to think about. So the Spurs, we have no Wembenyama, which is their biggest asset. Sheesh, they are undervaluing people on FanDuel a lot tonight. So Fox 9,300 on DK, 8,600 on FanDuel. He's averaging 38 since he's come back. 27% usage, 22 points per game, 6.2 assists, less than 1.1 in FanDuel points per minute, which is not ideal. right? But that was also probably as he's being eased back and with Wemby. So he's played the one game so far without Wemby. He blew past his points per minute projection. Um, but let's see if they are already overvaluing him. At 8,600, it's not crazy, right? You look at 8,600. Anybody else in the $8,600 range for point guard? No, not really. But you got to jump to James Harden. You got to jump to Tyrese Maxey to get anyone else that's going to have a usage that's going to be close to 30. They won't let me click on him yet, probably because he just came back a few games. But eventually they'll let me click on it and see his history. I'll go to Propfinder and find some of his history. But De'Aaron Fox is somebody to think about so far. I'll keep him in mind. Um, let's see, Devin Vassell, 6,100. See, that's too much for only averaging 25 points per game. I mean, 25 fantasy points per game, under 20% usage, and way below a point per minute. Like it doesn't look good for him. Like I can't imagine what they would project him to be. And Devin Vassell is just always someone who's very frustrating for me to take. And that's not personal. That is literally just a fact. Like I can probably go through my daily fantasy lineups. I can go through my sportsbook lineups, and anytime I have Devin Vassell, most likely he's let me down. Julian, he is 52, 42, 20, also well below a point per minute. Not really looking. Barnes, 44. He's actually been interesting. He did have a really good game last game, I believe, as well. Um, 23 fantasy points per minute. 15% usage, which is not great, and way less than a point per minute. But he is somebody that looks to score first. His usage is still going to be under 20%, so we're probably going to be off him. I would call that kind of a fluke against Memphis, which is fine. And then Luke Cornett, um, another one that just doesn't look all that interesting. Yeah, nope. So again, we're looking at the Spurs, second highest projected team total on the slate. They actually do average a high points per game at 118, and they have a decent offensive rating at 10. Their pace is not great, but they rebound as well. So they do well on offense. They're pretty good on defense. And they're going against Atlanta, who can probably match up with them well. So who did we say? We said Fox, right? So let's see where Fox is projected. So Fox has a middle of the road matchup. They allow 26 and a half. Head to head, he's averaging 27. His season average right now is at 22 again as they ease them back. And they're asking 24 and a half, which is not bad, right? Like that's actually really, really good. I will probably bet that FanDuel has already bumped that up to 25 and a half at least. Let's check. Nope, still at 24 and a half. I really like that. I mean, he's their team's main and should be their only scorer. So 24 and a half. You know what? I'm going to lock that one in right now. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one for him. Everything else is green, right? Like he's only like a point off from being in the green for points. And then everything else, he's at the highest. They allow the most assists. They allow the most rebounds to a point guard. So all around, like De'Aaron Fox looks like a good play tonight. So like if I was doing a daily fantasy sports lineup for what you're getting with Fox, his usage, his game, his price, His points per minute, which is gonna be bumped. I just kind of like to give give myself a couple of points boost. So for fantasy for minutes, he's averaging 34, which is good considering he's just coming back from injury. So if he's at 34, 35, 37, 38 minutes, great. His fantasy points per game should be in the 40s to 42, 43. I'll bump that about 5 or 6. His usage definitely over 30. His points, I'll give him even a 5 point bump. Right, that's a 3 pointer and a 2 pointer. He might even get more. Oh yeah, Stephen Castle is out. Stephen Castle, Stephen Castle, is also out. So another guy that takes away from usage typically. So I really like Fox tonight. He's the first guy I'm plugging in. I did promise that I'll look at Fox over here just to give you guys an idea. We'll see what he's done in the points category. So 26, 28, 24, he got really, really close. And the other ones, like I said, these had Wemby, right? I think Wemby got injured in this game, but the last two games basically without or him as the main guy. Castle got injured. That's what it was. As the main guy, he's that guy, right? Castle got injured. Wemby was already out, and then it was just Fox without Castle and Wemby in this one. So these are the two that you really want to look at. He managed to play 33 and 34 minutes, but he smashed that spot. And even the game before against Golden State, he almost hit it as well. He was a point away, but had two of his main guys. So even though the PF rating is red, we saw the we saw the defensive matchup, we saw the game, we saw his average against them, which is 27.7. We saw what they allow. So these are all positive signs for us to be like, all right, De'Aaron Fox, we're going to put one on him tonight, and we already have. Next, we have the Sacramento Kings, projected for 115. They scored 112. Their plus and minus is actually really is their only good thing. I guess they're playing good together as a team, but they're just not winning. They don't have a good offensive rating, but their pace is good and their rebounding sucks. All things that I would project to change throughout the season, just based off of, like I said, the pieces that they have. They're all pretty much healthy. I don't know if there's any inner team turmoil as to why they're not playing well together, but um, let's see. Sorry, that was business. Let's see. Westbrook, undervalued again, 7,100, or I should say discrepancy again. I'm not gonna say it's undervalued. I think that Fox is probably undervalued. I think that's what it is because, like I said, his line at 24 and a half, I don't think that's going to be hard for him to score that tonight against Atlanta. So I guess he's going. No, let me one thing at a time. All right. So Russell Westbrook, he's averaging 34 fantasy points per minute. He's at a 23% usage. He's at 1.14, which isn't bad, right? But like I said, the team itself is just bad right now. He's averaging close to 30 minutes a game. His usage is typically in 20s, and his points are around between 12 and 14, which isn't great, right? Because they're probably going to ask much more of him. They want 13 and a half. And his matchups, not terrible. The head to head is bad, though, right? He's only averaging 12.7 against them. His season average is 13.9, but this is just really, really close. But it's not bad. It's not bad. We'll see if there's any news with Sacramento having people sit or anything like that. Because they also have Dennis Schroeder, they have DeMar DeRozan, they have Zach LaVine, they have DeMontis Sabonis, and they have Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray. Think about football. Um, Murray. I can't think of his name right now. Uh, Oh, they also have Malik Monk, right? So it's like they have so many guys. Keegan Murray, that's what his name. They have so many guys that can kind of step it up in a game that even at 14 and a half for somebody who's not averaging typically 14, like it's tough for me to make sense of that. So Zach Levine's actually really cheap. His price has dropped a lot. So possibly we might find him being undervalued a bit, considering his usage is 23. He's less than Westbrook. He's not averaging a point per minute, which I don't know why this is green. Typically not green if it's. Well, I guess so. In the 90s, I guess you'll hit green, or high eights, you'll hit green. But he's not averaging a point per minute. Not typically something I'm looking at. He does just score, which is nice. Now, I'm gonna before I even click on point guard and small shooting guard and small forward, I'm gonna say like if Zach LaVine's line is under 20, I'm kind of not opposed to it. Wow, wow. See, this is what I'm saying when I say that guys are being undervalued on the sportsbook. So his points are they allow 28 points. His head to head is 27. His season average is 21 and a half. And they only want 18 and a half. So we could get even value at we could say we'll take 17 and a half. Like and everything else is green. Everything else is green. So the Grizzlies to this position are not good. And the third highest total projected team is playing in a great paced game. Neither team has a good offensive rating, so there might just be a lot of missed shots. But you know that Zach LaVine's going to take them. His usage is there. And they're saying his rating is 65. And I get it. I mean, when you play 30 minutes and somebody like Zach LaVine is only he's getting less than 15 points in any game. It's kind of weird, right? And this is something that may just take a quick Google just to see if there's some news that we're missing, something. Um, Kings are paying 47 million to learn what the Bulls already knew. So this is things, All right, best three trade. So he might be on a trade block, right? Why he's due for a bounce back. I get it. 3-team trade, proposed blockbuster to LA, former Laker to Boston. Wow, that would be interesting. Something we could watch over the next few days, I guess. This is the article saying why he's due for a bounce back. Right? Buying into him because of their slumps. So these are things that you come to realize over the time of picking and betting and just research that these can be things to take advantage of. Now, he's not doing great, right? Like his trend is not there. But we see that when he crushes this number, like he's crushing it. And this right here is the makings of him being able to hit it. Like I could even go as low as 15 and a half and feel comfortable. That would probably be in a parlay because it probably wouldn't make sense for me to put that as an individual line. But 18 and a half, I'm not opposed to that. I'm really not. because then DeMar DeRozan is the next person, and like I said, Zach LaVine's only 65. DeRozan is 64. My gosh, what are they doing? Um, Zach LaVine is averaging more points per game. He has a better usage than DeRozan. DeRozan's also under a point per minute. Let's see DeRozan's output for the last few games. He's always a high minutes guy. He's always playing good minutes. He's just Zach LaVine's usage has been up and down. There's just so many guys there, and I think I think it's just hard for them to find their footing when there are so many guys there, or consistency, because they all gotta eat. Again, this is what you would consider a really good, what should be a really good real life team, may not be the best fantasy team, fantasy people to pick from because of that. But let's see. So you got Sabonis, right? Um, he's 8,300. I skipped Keegan Murray because he's coming back from injury. Not gonna really have too. There's nothing on him here, but there's also just not a lot to like there. So he's not a big discrepancy like the other guys. He's averaging 41, which is the highest of any center on the night. He has a 22% usage. They all have around 20% usage, and he's averaging 1.2, so a little bit less than Edie and a little bit less than Porzingis, which we'll talk about after. But 8,300. Let's see how they are against the position. They're pretty stout against the position, right? And now that they got Edie back, they're allowing 16. He's only averaging 13. For the season, he's averaging 17, and they want 19 essentially. So it's not something I would look at. Even the DeRozan one is interesting. Small forward. Even the DeRozan one is interesting because they also want way under 20. So they allow 21. His head to head is 25. His season average is 18. And they want 18. So it's his is. I like LaVine a little bit more um, because he's green in every category versus DeRozan, who's green in a couple. No, green in a majority. So it's not discount that. I don't know. I don't know, man. Like it's the Kings. It's just the Kings squad right now. Like you can't pick the person. Like we saw, Zach LaVine had 8 points the last two games. Each of the last two games, 8 points is bad. DeRozan had at least DeRozan's closer to 17. You know what I'm saying? Like he had a couple where he fell off completely. This one he only played 19, but this one he pooped the bed at 6. With 27, 17, even if I took him at 16 and a half, that's not bad. So I'm gonna make two columns, right? So I have Vince, who I think is definitely a good play tonight. Cedric, who I think is good to play tonight. Fox, I think, is so far the best play we've seen. And then we want to say LaVine at 16 and that. What did I say? I think he started at 18 and a half, right? I want to say he's 16 and a half. Let's say 17 and a half. And DeRozan at 16 and a half. And I'm going to just put a star next to their name to know that these are two guys that I'm not too sold on. But it looks like Sabonis says Sabonis was day to day. I'm not sure what the injury is, but if Sabonis misses any time, I would like those two a little bit more. Let me just say what his injury is. He didn't play Wednesday. Let me see. The score has a decent injury tab. So when you go into the game on the score, scroll down and it says the injuries here. You can click in. Oh, so it actually says Sabonis is out. Yeah. So 7 minutes ago on RotoWire, it says Sabonis is out. So, and Jaren Jackson's not expected to play. So that's not bad, right? That's not bad for those guys who we need to hit their projections. So Levine and DeRozan, I like a lot more with Sabonis out. One less mouth to feed. Who would they even start? They'd probably start Precious Achua at center. Just throw Precious in there. But then they still got Monk. They still have Schroeder. So there's a possibility that those guys will take away. But as starters, as the bona fide starters, Levine and DeRozan, I don't mind that tonight, actually. So I'm going to probably be looking to bet them right now. Let's see. Since it was only 7 minutes ago, they may not. Sorry, I'm speaking very low. Since it was only 7 minutes ago, they may not have them up yet. Or they do. But now they changed the lean to 19 and a half. And they change. Nope, DeRozan's not up there yet. But they changed Levine to 19 and a half. Definitely not something that we're taking. It's not. It don't. And again, this is my preference. This is how I kind of go through my process. I'm gonna wait for the player points to pop up again, and I'm gonna take Levine for that 17 and a half that I said, and DeRozan once he pops up again for 16 and a half. Vince is at 14 and a half still. Coward's at 15 and a half still. Does Westbrook become playable? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's always nice to have a point guard, somebody who has a ball in their hands. But I forgot what his projected points or what they wanted. They wanted 13 and a half, right? Yeah, 13 and a half. They allowed 26. He only averages 12 and a half, 12.7. I still don't like it for Westbrook. The ones that we saw that, make the most sense. Like I said, I'm trying not to overthink it. This Zach LaVine one looks juicy, and the DeMar DeRozan one a little less juicy, but still looks good. Next game. Let's continue to move on, and I'm gonna try to make this a lot quicker. This is really just an intro video, a video as to how I go through my whole process, so you guys can see everything that I'm doing. And sometimes I overthink it, and I'm just trying not to. Right? I think that's what we're all trying to do in life sometimes. And that's what, again, the real talk. I want to do real talk as well. So Atlanta Hawks 114. They score 117 typically. Their offensive rating is middle of the road. Their pace is actually really good. It's good. And they're going against the Spurs, who we looked at before. We got Nickeil Alexander-Walker starting, 62, averaging 30, less than a point per minute. Not great. Dyson Daniels, 74, 29, less than a point per minute. Not great. Zachary Richichet, 45, 22, 20, less than a point per minute, but 45 is not a bad price for him. And I like that they have a decent offensive rating. And Jalen Johnson, who's the biggest beneficiary of Trae Young being out, He's almost 10K. He's averaging 47, and he has 1.40 per minute. I think that's the highest of anybody on the slate. Yep. He has the highest point per minute output of anyone on the slate today. So rightfully, he's priced at what he is. Look, DraftKings and FanDuel have him at the same price, so they value him at the same thing. Um, he's not a great, he's not a prolific scorer, so I may not be even looking at him for points. They allow 24. His head-to-head is 22. His average is 22, and they want 23. He could do it. Don't get me wrong. He can do it. He can do it. He can do it. He's only one below the, you know, worst scoring defense team on the night. One below. So he can do it. He can. He can. Let's just see. Is he doing it? He is. He's right there. He's right there, y'all. He's right there. I mean, I guess if it was 25, maybe I would definitely, and somebody on the team got to score. Somebody on the team has to score. 24% usage. Let's see if his usage actually is that. Or if it's going up. It should be close to that. Yeah. So with Trey's been out for, probably the past 6 or 7 games. So 28, 23, 33, 25, 23, 27. So yeah, he is averaging 25 even without Trey Young. He had a 92 against Utah. Oh my goodness. That is wild. Wild. Awesome. He's a really talented guy. He's a really, really talented guy. Um, and right now he is the team's #1 guy. So I don't want to discount that. Almost did it with Santi. Almost did it with Denny last night, and I'm glad I didn't. I almost did it with Jokic last night, and I'm glad I didn't. So those are guys that I bet straight, and they did well for me, right? I didn't put them in parlays, which I'm mad about, but it is what it is. And like I said, I bet them straight now because I want to make sure I get something from my research. But Jalen Johnson, that's not a bad. He's not bad. He's like just there. He's just there. He's not overexciting. Don't really find any value there, but he's there. Now Porzingis is somebody who I like as a player. New York guy. New York guy, not born and raised, but you know what I mean. Um, Drafted and played in New York, so I like him. But he is so frustrating for fantasy purposes. Like, look at the points 13, 20, 17, 15, 15. And they usually want like 16 and a half for him. Like something weird. 16 and a half, 17 and a half. And he's just not getting, and they don't need him to play 30 minutes. So that's why he's not getting it. But he's getting usage. And if a couple more of these shots, if he's 8 for 12, if he's 7 for 12, if he's 8 for 16, like he's hitting that number that you need him to hit, but he's just not. He's cold right now, and we want people that are going to win us money. And right now, look, they want 16 and a half. What I said, 17 and a half? They want 16 and a half. Or, no, I think I did say 16 and a half. They want 16 and a half. His average is 17.3. His head-to-head is 20. But they give up the least points. And that's probably because of Wemby being there. But even Luke Cornett's not a bad center. Not a bad fill-in center for them. So I don't think I'm going to touch Porzingis. It's not looking great for him. But Jalen Johnson, like I said, he's just not a prolific scorer, so I'm going to be mad at myself if I write him down and he doesn't get to 22 and a half. I could do 21 and a half. I might. I'm gonna put Johnson now for 21.5. I don't think it's. I think that's fair. I'm gonna put Johnson now. So far, guys, we got. I said, guys. So far, everyone, we have Vince Williams from the Grizzlies. We have Cedric Howard from the Grizzlies. Vince, we have at 12.5. Cedric between 13.5 and 14.5. Fox, we have 24.5 from the Spurs. From the Kings, we have Levine, 17.5. We have DeRozan, also from the Kings, 16.5. And then we have Jalen Johnson for 21.5 from the Atlanta Hawks. And I try to stick with the games that the team is projected to have a higher scoring total, but also just games where there's good value. We got 4 more games to go through. Hopefully this video isn't crazy long. It's probably almost gonna be 2 hours, but it's my first video. Again, really wanted to intro, but also deep dive into my research. So, but I'm gonna try to speed it up just a bit. 76ers, 114. They are the highest point per game team on the slate. They have the highest offensive rating on the slate. They don't have a great pace. They played last night as well, and they are 12th in rebounding percentage. So their best player is Tyrese Maxey. He is priced at what he's supposed to be at. But interesting enough, I took him last night for 30.5, and he got me 24. Again, short memory. Is tonight the night to go back to him? We'll see. VJ Edgecombe, 63, 32, 18. No thanks. He's under 90, and no one else. Paul George is probably going to be in the lineup again tonight. 66. He had 26 fantasy points. His usage was about 130, which makes sense, but his minutes are going to be low for now. Dominic Barlow, no thanks. Andre Drummond, no thanks. The only person would be Tyrese Maxey, really. So Tyrese Maxey, they allow 27.8. His head-to-head against them is 33. He averages 31.9, and they're only asking 27.5. Last night, they wanted 30. I think they wanted 31.5. And I took 30.5. I didn't get there. It is a back-to-back, and I'm pretty sure he played over 30 minutes yesterday. 38 minutes. Let's see. Any other back? So he played a back-to-back, and he scored 30 points both games. So I don't think back-to-back is too bad for him, and they were home, but now they traveled, and now they're playing away. Like I said, I don't want to read too much into it. 27.5 is really low for somebody who's averaging 29, 31. But 27.5, best offensive rated team, highest points per minute team, not a great pace. Milwaukee also, I don't think, has a great pace. 16, not bad. They're not a good rebounding team, so he might get a couple of extra shots. Philly kicks it back out. So I'm going to go back to the Maxey well. I like that he's under 30 today. 27.5. Paul George is playing, but I think Paul George, again, will likely be limited. Kelly Oubre. Is Oubre playing? Let's see. So I'm checking eScore just real quick. I like how quick it is to check them sometimes for players in and out. It's a 1.5 spread game. Oh wait, Maxey is actually he's probable quadriceps. I don't like really picking anyone with injuries, but I don't know. Oubre's out. Yeah, Oubre's out. So I don't gotta worry about that. He'll be evaluated in 2 weeks, so he's definitely out. Paul George is playing, and they could use a win tonight. But it's looking good. It's looking good, right? Like I said, it's looking good. Let me just see what Paul George did. In his game back. So he played 21 minutes with 26% usage. He scored 9 points. So I'm not really worried about him taking points away from Maxey. I'm not really worried about anybody else taking points from Maxey, actually. I think he should do fine tonight. He's going against Ryan Rollins. I'm not worried about that. And he's second in terms of, and he's green. He's green across the board. So Maxey at 27 and a half. I like it. So let's go now. Next game. Milwaukee Bucks. No Giannis. That's pretty big. It's huge. I shouldn't say it's pretty big. It's huge. Only projected to score 112. They do score points per game 117. It's probably with Giannis though. They have a 16 offensive rating and a 16 pace, which isn't bad against Philly again, who has a good offensive rating, terrible pace. But now you got Ryan Rollins without Giannis. They priced him up, which is to be expected. He averages 33. His usage is 23. He's over a point per minute. Without Giannis, I took him that last game, and he I think it was against the Warriors, and he did great, and that's what he projected. But he was a lot cheaper at that time, right? So I don't know that the book is going to be undervaluing him this time. With Giannis out, AJ Green, not great. Gary Trent, not great. Guys who gets bumped though. Kuzma, I Kuzma's price is really the only thing saving him right now. He does have 20% usage, and that's most likely with Giannis because he's only been out 1 or 2 games. Fantasy points 24, which isn't great. Just a hair under a point per minute, which isn't terrible. He's just another frustrating person, though. Like, look at this 10-1 in 19 minutes, 29-8, 27-11, 11. Like, sorry, I don't even have the words for this guy. Miles Turner, and he's somebody who I really, really liked. Coming from the Lakers, going to Washington, thought he was going to do well for Washington. I think he did like the first maybe 1.5 seasons, got injured, and just he stunk ever since. And again, like if if for whatever reason a NBA player stumbles across my channel, I take no offense. I've never played basketball. I'm just letting you know from my strictly fantasy point. So in the fantasy world, I'm good. But in real life, yo, you did your thing, you got there, get your money, bro. Like more power to. If I meet you, I'm kicking it with you. Like I have no problems. But in the fantasy world, I can't recommend you. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I'm sorry. I can't recommend you. All right. So Miles Turner, he should get some more usage with Giannis out. However, his fantasy point per minute is not that high. His minutes are decent, and his fantasy points per game is not great. Um, Let me take a look at Rollins, really just because he'll be at point and have so much usage, but 20 and a half is crazy. I can't. It can happen. It can happen. It can happen. But it's hard to see it happen. They only allow 21, and Maxey's been there, so this is a stat that's pretty accurate. He's only averaging 17. Granted, that's with Giannis, but still, And head to head, he's only done 4.8, and he probably wasn't the starter. He probably didn't play a ton of minutes against them, but it's not shaping up to look good for Ryan Rollins tonight. Again, he can hit it. He can hit it, but I don't think I'm touching it. The one thing that I will be mad at myself is if I don't touch Ryan Rollins and they have that offensive rating. I'm sorry. I'm probably just been sitting too long. I gotta start drinking coffee again, I guess, if I'm gonna do this. But with the Bucks, they are, if they continue to maintain their offensive rating and they continue to maintain their pace, I think Ryan Rollins is not bad. But I would like Ryan Rollins at like a 16 and a half, a 17 and a half even. At 20 and a half, I might be overthinking this one, but I don't think I am. I'm gonna pass on it. I'm gonna pass on it. Yeah. All right, Orlando Magic. I'm gonna pass on every Milwaukee Buck. I just want to see how they play out. Orlando Magic. No Paolo. Um, they have some decent pieces outside of Paolo who might be a target for us. Like this, I wish that the Bucks were as predictable as kind of like the Magic in the same total range in the same. I like that it's like that right now, but I wish that it was the opposite. Um, I like the Bucks more than I like the Magic. I like the players on the Magic more than I like the Bucks players, but I like the Bucks more than I like the Magic. The Magic, and that has nothing to do with. I've been a Bucks fan since golly, Michael Red. Yeah, Michael Red was. I like guys like Michael Red, how they play and and who was the point guard? Wow, guys, you can flame me for my knowledge right now, but oh gosh, the point guard that was often injured. Golly, another guy I liked just fizzled out after injuries, but like I said, Michael Red was the first made me first notice the Bucks, and I kind of followed them after Michael Red. I'm gonna find the name of that guy, but I'm pretty sure you guys know it off the top of your head already. The Magic, 115 points per game, 19 offensive rating. They're middle of the road, right? Everywhere except for rebounding, which they stayed really good. They've played a few games without, several games now without Paolo, so I think that this is probably updated a bit. So I like this, right? So the Bucks, I feel like their stats are probably going to be swapped with how the Magic. They're going to turn into like yellow. This is going to stay red. They aren't a good rebounding team. And I've been saying it for a long time. Miles Turner is not a traditional center. He's tall as hell. He plays very well. And Brook Lopez and Miles Turner are essentially the same player right now. They you're not gonna get more than four rebounds from them on average, but a 10 rebound game from them is gonna be very out of character for who they are. But with that being said, we're not talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. We're talking about the Orlando Magic. So we had Jalen Suggs as the point guard. He's 5,900. I took him last game. He just got there for me, but Franz missed. Um, so FanDuel has him at 5,900, 27 points per game, 21% usage, 12.5 points per game, actual points, but real life points per game. 1.20, which is really good considering his price again. So like, look at that. So he's better than Rollins in terms of where his usage is probably going to be without Paolo. His points, I would probably say you could bump him 16 maybe 15 is comfortable. Um, he's not assisting. Rollins is gonna have a harder time assisting. He's not rebounding. But he's already averaging more than Rollins, and Rollins is going to get a bump, but I don't know that it's going to be. I wish his points. I wish what they were asking for him in points was closer to what Jalen Suggs is probably going to be when I look at this, and that's 13 and a half. So Jalen Suggs tonight is not bad again. And I took him the other night. He's not bad again based off his usage, based off his points per minute, based and they're low, right? They're low in their projected total. They're low, but they're still good in their points per game. They're decent in their points per game. It's really probably just going to be the pace with the Clippers that are making this projected game lower. But Suggs against the Clippers, he averages 16. They're allowing 26. Um, he's averaging 12.5 on the season, and the line is 13 and a half. So I like Suggs again tonight for 12 and a half. Um, and then we have Desmond Bain, 71, 30%, 30 points, 30 fantasy points per game, 22% usage, less than a point per minute. Let's see what he did last game. So without Paolo, he's at the 23 still usage, but his points have gone up, right? So his last 5 games, he's averaged over 20 points. But let's see what they're asking of Bane. Is it under 20? It's not under 20. They're allowing 26. His head to head is 18. His average is 16.9, and they're asking 20 and a half. My problem with this line is, again, while Bane is probably the B B minus option, B plus option, compared to Suggs and Franz. Um, he's not averaging that against him. Yeah, they're yellow for that. They're red for most everything else. He's not averaging that on the season. He is averaging that over the last few games, which you want. Um, but that's a tough one for me, right? I've taken Bane a couple of times over the last few days, and he's hit it, right? He's hit it, and it's just a tough spot against the Clippers. It is. So Franz, and I don't think he's really undervalued right now for what he's doing. He's good value. I don't know. Bane is interesting. We'll see. Franz 8,500, 39, 25, 1.10. All of that should get a mini bump without Paolo. But teams are focusing more on him. He's not averaging over 30% usage, which is interesting. He's not that far from being on points, maybe 5, 6 points. Um, but they're probably asking like 25 and a half from him. 23 and a half. He's right there. He's right there. He's right there. And everything else is green. So Franz Wagner, um, I feel like I would be more comfortable taking him for 4 more points than I would Bane 4 more points. He just has more ways to score than Bane does. They're allowing 22. His head to head is 17. At least his average is 22.8, and they want 24. So even if I took him at 22 and a half, I like Franz better than I do Bane. I think in these lower scoring games, though, I gotta be careful with taking multiple people. And if I have to choose between Franz and Suggs, I think that's what it really comes down to. Um, I'm gonna jot him down for 22 and a half. But that's one of the things that I got myself in trouble with is, I'm taking the value from certain games where it's value, but the game itself kind of sucks. The pace of this game is gonna suck. So it's like, which of those guys? If I'm betting on anyone, I'm probably betting on Franz. If I'm betting on anyone, I'm probably betting on Franz. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bane is good. I think that was a great trade for them, great addition for them. If Paolo being out is the perfect time, and this is how I start talking through things, right? I'm starting to reconsider the fact that Bane, who's been hitting it, who has been getting close to it, might be a slightly better pick, because then I can take him for 19 and a half and it's not going to kill me. But it's not going to kill me in terms of the bet amount, but it's still not great. I might deep dive. I might dive into that one a little bit more. If I get any comments on the video, then maybe I'll just tell you, or I'll just update you guys on in the comments um, about what my decision was or is on Bane. And then Wendell Carter. Oh, Tristan Da Silva, who's actually been playing pretty well. Um, Decent value. I think he's also working his way back from injuries. Well, let's just take a look at Da Silva real quick. And again, this video is a lot longer. Hopefully I can shorten it for you guys. Points. So they won 11 and a half. He's been, since Fran has been out, he's been the main beneficiary. And he's actually averaging over that 11 and a half. I think there's somewhere that tells me his usage on here. See, so three up. Oh, that's it. 3 games without Paolo. So these are his averages, and this is what he's been doing. I want to say, yeah. So the 3 games without Paolo, this is what he's been doing. Which 11 and a half is not bad. Now, again, it's he's good value, right? And I've made my motto this season: early game value, late game hammer. And their game is at, usually earlier, but it could be playing in LA. They're not. They're playing in Orlando. So they are the earliest game tonight. So early game value would be Da Silva, and it would be possibly even Suggs. Now, in the real world, are Da Silva and Suggs names that you want to see on a slip? Probably not. But also, Podziemski and Buddy Hield were not names that I wanted to see on a slip either, but they ended up scoring 18 and roughly 21 points. So, and it's because big guys are out, and granted, for the Warriors, those are people who are used to guys being out and stepping up when they need to. But for this team, I feel like they kind of spread the ball out a bit when Paolo is out, and similar to how the Kings are set up, anybody could step up for the night, right? Like Suggs could have a monster game tonight. Uh, Bane could have a monster game tonight. Franz is always in line for a monster game. De Silva may have a good game tonight. So like these are the things that I want to consider. But again, I want to go for these lower scoring games and have guys who are projected to be lower scoring. So like I could take the Silva for 10.5, which isn't crazy because say that Washington is plays them great and defensively the Magic have trouble scoring through Franz and Bane. De Silva could be the guy. Suggs could be the guy. Like I said, and this is why I talked through it. And I kind of like where De Silva is. Like he's technically averaging over a point per minute right now without Paolo. He was already at 0.88, so I think he's at least a point per minute now. I wish I could click on him here, but his minutes, as we saw, were in the high 30s now. In the 30s. His 32, 40, and 28. So he's going to get above 25 minutes. His fantasy points have gone up. His usage has to have gone up. He's already averaging 11.9. They're only asking 11.5. So you take him at 10.5. He's at 4,600. He's somebody who I would take tonight as a good value play because his points per minute are enough for me to be like, yo, I can plug in De Silva and not be too mad if he only gets me 25 and I can survive because I want to be able to get big names like Jalen. I want to be able, and that's the difference of why I've tried to go towards sportsbook. Because in fantasy sports, when you're actually plugging these guys in and their numbers, and you want to take Tyrese Maxey and Harden, your rest of your lineup is not going to look great, right? But in sports booking, I could take Maxey and Harden in a parlay and still be able to win money. So in sportsbook, that's why I like it now. Everybody can win. Everybody has an opportunity, but still very similar in terms of trying to find the value guys, the undervalued guys on the day. And I think that Franz being under 9 is still somewhat of a value because of what he's going to do as long as Paolo remains out. But it's just not a great game for him to do it in against the Clippers. As you can see, none of them average a ton against the Clippers. Nobody really averages a ton against the Clippers just because they're a slow-paced team. You got Suggs. They allow 26. You got Bane. They allow 26. You got Franz. They allow 22. You got De Silva. They allow 17. And then you have Carter. They allow the most to the center position. And that's Carter was the last person that we were supposed to check. So at center, Carter 5'4", 28. His usage is 16, which isn't great. He's a little less than a point per minute, but he might be over a point per minute without Paolo. He is, because as you can see here, he's more fantasy points than the minutes that he's playing. And now he's in the 30s, like consistently. And Wendell Carter normally does not play that many minutes. So it's good to see that. The thing is, he's a center, so he has to find different ways to score. He can shoot kind of from the outside, which is good. As you can see here, he's had three-point attempts there, 4 in the game before. He did foul out, I guess. So I guess that's the thing to worry about going up against going up against Zubac. he could get into foul trouble if he's hacking Zubac for rebounds or trying to stop Zubac from going to the rim. Um, but what was I saying? So his points have not been too bad. His minutes are really high, which is good. Um, and his usage, which I just completely overlooked, is still not high. So I don't want to say that, scoring wise he's gonna be my guy. So let's just see the last 3 games. His usage is 23, and this is how I deep dive. His usage is 24, so they're pretty much sharing the ball. And his usage is 26. They're pretty much sharing the ball without Paolo, which is what they need to do as a team, right? Again, they are a team. They're not here for sports betting, but they're doing what they need to do as a team. And I'm gonna find it difficult to pinpoint the guy tonight on this team. I think early game value and late game hammer is might win out, right? I might take the silver for 10.5, and I might take Carter for what is Carter's? But the silver's in the red. I don't like that, right? I don't like that the silver's, and he's kind of deep in the red. He's kind of deep in the red. But Carter, on the other hand, I think I might touch Carter. And this is a strategic move because one, they allow the most points to centers. Two, he averages more than 12 and a half, 12.7. They want 12 and a half. I could take him at 11 and a half easily. Although his head to head is only 9. And this is where we'll just take a quick look at Stat Muse, right? So Stat Muse, Window, Carter, game log versus. Oh gosh, it's not looking pretty. So the last 2 home, I want to say that Paolo probably played in those games, and that's just an assumption. He played 36, so like he's had the opportunities in some of these games, and he just doesn't do that well against them. So I may, as much as I don't want to, I may fade Orlando tonight. Just because they're not projected, they're not in a running gun. Their offensive rating is mid tier. Their pace is below average. And they've gone against another mid tier pace that's just as bad. Like, and I don't know that there's enough early game value for me from this game to say that it makes sense. The only person I think that was in the green was Suggs, and he's not completely there. Like Suggs at 12.5 is nice, but it's not amazing. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. All right, last game, the Clippers at Orlando, and you got James Harden, main piece, right? 9.6, averaging 51. He's better value than Maxi technically tonight because they're averaging roughly the same point per minute output. But you're saving about $500. So maybe they undervalued Harden just a smidge. Chris Dunn, no thanks. Kobe Sanders, I'm sorry, I don't even know who he is yet. John Collins is always interesting when he gets the opportunity to start and perform. And then Zubac is a guy that I typically like. At 7K, he has less output. He has less output meaning points per minute, than Andre Drummond, which is interesting. But they need somebody else to score when it's not Harden. He has a 20% usage. Let's see what he's done without Kawhi Leonard. So he's in double digits in shooting. He's in double digits in points. Oh, his usage wasn't great though. His usage was 15, 15, 20. And that's what you'll see with centers, right? So you don't expect the center to really have the ball in his hands. That's Jokic. That's Anthony Davis. Those are those guys, right? But for somebody like Jokic, he'll get an offensive rebound, put back. He'll get tossed the ball in the paint, and it's a really quick put up. But he may not have a high usage typically. But I don't need a high usage for him to kind of get there in points a lot of times. But he's between 16, he's between 15 and 20. So it's just say like an average of 17 or 18. Um, Seems like his fantasy points per minute are just about what they're supposed to be. They're saying he's 35, um, 35, 39. Yeah, he's at about that 35 range. And he's playing 33 minutes. So he gets a minutes bump. So his fantasy points, small bump. And his points, maybe not a huge bump. Sorry, I keep clicking back into him, but 14, 16, 27, 13, 18. It's not crazy. Usually, if anybody, it's probably going to be Harden to take a look at. Harden, they allow 25. His head to head is 22. He averages 26. And the line is they want 26. So it's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible. Probably better was just taking Suggs for the savings. Um, and then let's see, Zubac. See, this one's interesting. So they allow 20. His head to head is 17 and a half. His average is 16. And they were asking 16 and a half. Zubac, I usually like to only take him when he's like 15, like 14 and a half to get to 15. Um, and he's very close to being at a deficit when it comes to the team he's facing and how much points they allow. And it's pretty much been Wendell Carter and it's pretty much been Zubac. So Wendell Carter, I don't like it either. Like neither one of them are great. I think if Zubac gets anything, he'll get 18, but I don't necessarily like his line at 16 and a half. I think without Kawhi, that's big. Also without Derrick Jones. I guess let's see what Propfinder says. See if they can give us. Sorry, I'm speaking with my hand over my mouth. See if they can give us a breakdown like they did with Paolo out for Kawhi being out. All right, so without Beal for 8 games, without Kawhi for 8 games, he's averaging 17.4. Without Beal, he's averaging 16 and a half. So maybe, and they wanted what, 16 and a half. It's close, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like if that was like 20, then I would be like all on that. I'd be all on that. But it's like too close for comfort in a game that's not a pace game. But a slow pace game could benefit him. It could benefit him. Um, Zubac is interesting. Let's see Wendell Carter. See his analysis also without Powell. Yeah, I mean he's at 13. They're asking 12 and a half. And I don't think it's anything that I would want to touch. Oh, so the guys who were guys I wasn't sold on? Suggs, right? Suggs and Franz. Let's use this analysis tool. So I'm again not an expert, and I use Propfinder for the simplest of tasks. Um, but finding this analysis thing is pretty good. This is how I like to. This is how sometimes I use StatMuse to look how with the player on the court or off the court. So it's nice to have this readily available through Propfinder. So he's averaging 30 minutes in the last two games, and he's averaging 13 and a half. So he's averaging two. He's only averaging one more point than he was with Paolo, essentially. Right? If that. And then I think Bane is the one that gets the biggest bump because he wasn't averaging a lot. So now he's averaging 19.3 in 6 games without Paolo. They won 20 and a half. See what I'm saying? Like they're not. None of these guys are killing it without Paolo. They're sharing the ball, which is what they want to do to win. 24. Like I said, I think if anyone, it would probably be France. It's scary, but I think I don't necessarily trust Suggs. I don't think there's really anybody to defend Franz either, right? Kawhi is out and Derrick Jones out. Those are their two best defenders. So I think if anybody does it tonight, it will be Franz at 22 and a half. I think that's going to be my pick. Um, just because one, he's safe. Two, it makes sense. He doesn't have Paolo. He goes off without Paolo. It's in Orlando, so he has the backing of the home crowd. So I like that. So just to recap, y'all, Hollawood exclusive. Sorry for the long video. I'm gonna try and go live to try and walk you guys through the process again. I think this video is probably about 3 hours. But again, November 20th, 2025, starting a new channel. Segments called Sportsbook Real Talk. Really want to do some real talk with about anything about life. If you guys want to hit me up, like I said, my career right now is full time entrepreneur. I own and operate a sneakers and apparel store called Eternal Souls. Um, I have my inventory back here, store inventory. It's a physical retail location in Poughkeepsie, New York. If you guys get a chance to check it out, if you want to, know the link, I'll drop it to you guys in the comments or anything like that. Not trying to cross pollinate my business. I'm not trying to promote that business. I really just came on here to just do some real talk about tonight's picks that I'm picking, how I do those picks, the sources that I use, and just see if there's anybody out there that this content is useful for, or cool to, or funny to, whatever it may be. Right? I'm just your everyday guy, just bringing you some content. I've seen it over the years, and I've always wanted to do it myself. Really, just because I feel like I have good ideas and I have good takes on a lot of these players. You saw the research I do. I try not to do too much in depth research with too many sources and too many statistics, just because you don't know what the outcome is going to be, just like in life. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the segment. I'm going to run through my picks again. Vince Williams, 12 and a half. Cedric Coward. Sorry. We're going to start with Memphis. So Memphis, we're going Vince Williams, 12 and a half. Also from Memphis, Cedric Coward, 13 and a half to 14 and a half. I think his line was 15 and a half. I think I'm just going to bump it down to 14 and a half. I think he can get there. We have from the Spurs, we have De'Aaron Fox, 24 and a half. From the Kings, we have Zach LaVine, 17 and a half. Also from the Kings, DeRozan, 16 and a half. From the Atlanta Hawks, we have Jalen Johnson, 21 and a half. From the Philadelphia 76ers, we have Tyrese Maxey's 27.5. And then from the Orlando Magic, we have Franz Wagner, 22.5. So those are my picks for tonight. I'm playing all of those picks straight, and then I'm going to make one parlay, and then hopefully we make some really good money. I don't know how you guys want to take these picks and use them. If you can use them towards daily fantasy sports, feel free. If you make some good money from sportsbooks, I definitely want to hear the feedback. And like I said, like and subscribe. And this is my first show, and I'm gonna figure it all out. I'm gonna try and do some live. Sorry for the speed talking, but I'm really trying to end this video. It's been a long time. I need to eat something. But thanks for thanks for thanks for looking at the video. However long you look at this video, and like I said, look forward to hearing from you guys. Peace. Hollawood and Hollywood X out. However you want to pronounce it.